The question is telling and retelling and telling a third time a tale, of a suspense, of impending danger, impending death, and have it fresh. And that's what's been fun in telling it for television, all 3 seasons, is to not do what was done before, to change it, and to, and that's where, writers love to be creative. If not, I don't think they would, have joy out of writing if you can't create.
How was my funeral?
Because we had so thoroughly culled through the novel Red Dragon in the first 2 seasons, entering into the actual Red Dragon story was a little bit daunting. We knew that we had pulled a lot from it already, and when you're looking at certain things that were, for instance, Freddie Lowndes burning up in the wheelchair because Will Graham was faking her death to convince Hannibal that he had turned over a new leaf, as it were, we knew that that burning of Freddie was going to inspire the burning of Frederick Chilton, because it was now part of the story. So they had to use that. If we were going to use it again, we had to use that previous usage as an inspiration for the act that we saw in season 3.
Not that we've turned it on its head, but a different setting, a different situation. Dollarhide certainly looks different. His intentions are, obviously the same, but played by different characters and a different pace.
Me? It's me.
If you make a sound, I will kill her.
Normally, I read the entire script and I like to know everything about what everyone else is doing, but in this instance, I've deliberately not done that. I just wanted to track Dollarhide's path, so I actually don't really know what other people are saying about him. I don't know how close they are to finding him, which has been a bit of an experiment.
The killer's objection to the name the Tooth Fairy is likely grounded in the homosexual implication of the word fairy. Tedious, I know, but if you really want to piss him off, that's what you should call him.
We didn't quite know that we were going to be substituting Chilton for Lowndes until we started breaking the first couple of episodes.
Well, I think one of the things that had happened is that, they had already played with that idea in the 2nd season with everybody's expectation of the Freddie Lowndes story ending the way it ends in the 2nd season. This idea that she turns out to have survived when they do exactly the same thing. I thought it was incredibly audacious to repeat it, but it can't be her.
As an actor, I would have loved to have acted that scene, but as a fan and a viewer, I think that it was handled perfectly. I don't think I would have liked to have seen Freddie have that interaction with Dollarhide.
Do you see?
God. Do you see?
Please, no.
No what?
Not me.
Are you going to tell more lies about me, Dr. Chilton?
No.
Why did you tell lies, Dr. Chilton?
No, it was the police told me to. They said it.
You quote Will Graham.
Graham told the lies.
And we had enjoyed a certain ghoulishness with Raul Esparza's character, and the first season we gutted him, 2nd season we shot him in the face. In the 3rd season we burned him alive, so he is our version of Kenny in many respects for the show.
I kept thinking, he said he's the Kenny of the show, but I started hearing that during the middle of season 3, and I was like, what are they planning now? Because I thought I was out of it. I thought they shot him in the face. The fact that he's alive is miraculous. Nothing bad can happen now. And then I started hearing rumors that he was gonna maybe get set on fire. I was like, no, that's a joke, right?
That is mainly due to my immense love for Raul Esparza. I worked with him on Pushing Daisies. I fell in love with him when I heard him sing Being Alive. And I just knew that we had to be in each other's orbits creatively because he was so inspiring to me. And there's nothing more inspiring than seeing Raul Esparza trying to wiggle his way out of a predicament.
Oh, my back hurts. Oh, my skin. Oh, did I get burned? Did I get burned? Oh, to God, I am not burned.
And I think that the element of surprise that the switch happens with Chilton is also, again, good storytelling, but I also think that Chilton is a character that the audience cares about.
The savage acts aimed primarily at the women and performed in the presence of families clearly strikes at a maternal figure.
The Tooth Fairy is the product of an incestuous home.
It's easy to dismiss Freddie a bit as someone who is looking for nothing but trouble and is stirring up trouble. But Freddie never went through the kind of transformational horror that Chilton keeps being dragged through.
Look at me, otherwise I will staple your eyelids to your forehead.
It's really not that bad. I don't know what your problem is. Somebody. Why are you so angry? Okay. Oh, going for a ride. No.
Make a sound. I will kill her.
That was the main motivation, is that we had so much more history between Frederick Chilton and Hannibal Lecter.
I went out on a limb for you, and you climbed up there and sawed it off!
That he was more deserving of a comeuppance than Freddie Lowndes, who we had actually made much more sophisticated than the character in the books, and a little bit more likable, even though that she is of questionable ethics.
You're making statements no investigator would ever make and no straight newspaper would credit.
You're not a straight newspaper. You sell T-shirts that say the Tooth Fairy is a one-night stand.
I can get you one if you like. You small or medium? Small, I bet.
Well, obviously, I like to side with Brian on this one because it shows that Freddie had a little more humanity. I think we really worked hard at her arc from season 1 to season 2, especially at the end of season 2, to show that she did have a spark of true human kindness in her. And she is extremely intelligent. And I also think, no offense to Chilton, but I don't think she would have been taken in as easily with the scheme that they were doing as he's dictating all these lines, as well as adding on to them.
The Tooth Fairy's actions indicate projective delusion, compensating for intolerable feelings of inadequacy. Smashing mirrors ties these feelings to his appearance.
And not only is the Tooth Fairy insane, he is ugly and impotent.
You see Freddie watching, thinking, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? Okay, I'm gonna play your game because I'm not really directly involved, but I'm not really okay with this.
Frederick Chilton was the guy who was dirtier in his dealings, not because he was unethical, but just because he's generally a douchebag.
So I think because I side with Brian, I think because she has become somewhat, likable in her honesty.
You're trespassing, Freddie.
I was trespassing before the blood dried. When they call you in?
I'm not talking to you.
We're co-conspirators, Will. I died for you and your cause.
You didn't die enough.
I would say there's something that we can love about her because she always says directly what is happening, the truth. She doesn't hide what she thinks about people at any time, which at first, of course, when you first meet her, comes off as obnoxious, and then you kind of grow to love the truth teller eventually. And if you kill the truth teller, who's gonna keep people in check anymore?
So we loved to take this character who was so obnoxious in the novel and in the screen adaptations and actually make him one of the smarter characters on the show, but no less a douchebag.
I don't know what you people are up to.
And ultimately for me, it was a total blessing. He gave me a total acting coup. It was an acting feast to get handed that. I never would have expected it. To be part of such an iconic scene, such an incredibly famous part of the Red Dragon story, of all the Hannibal Lecter stories. That's gigantic.
And perhaps the biggest reason for not wanting to put Freddie Lounds in that wheelchair is that I did not want to see a woman get her lips bit off and set on fire.
There's such a level of weird sensuality and sexual tension in that scene as it is, that if you threw this young female into the mix, I think it would go from being a very disturbing act to being a completely unforgivable act. And Richard's work as Dollarhide was really edging towards a Dollarhide that we could appreciate and actually at times have a sense of love for.
But also maybe not something that anybody wants to promote. You know, you don't really want to graphically torture and eat a woman in a sexual situation like that one with the Red Dragon, and that it would instantly become that.
His relationship with Rutina, with Reba, was also such that was showing how a female, a young female character was starting to help him find his humanity. So for him to have that relationship with her and then turn around and destroy a young female, I think just wouldn't have served his storyline, and I think would have been a lot for the viewers to handle, as much as they hate Freddie. As much as you love to hate her, I think it would have been a little too much for us to handle. I don't want to see the lips of a woman bitten off.
Women are already under horrific attack by this country, that I didn't want to contribute to that in that way.
Putting a woman through that particular scenario might have been beyond what any kind of standards and practices would have ever allowed on network television.
Once again, I reached out to my buddy Joanna Jameson at Standards and Practices and said, we have a scene coming up where we have a character biting the lips off another one, and it hasn't been seen in any of the previous adaptations. It's always been covered or cut away, and I would love to see it for the first time. And she said, keep it dark, keep the blood black, and backlight it, and I'll be your friend. And she was. She only asked for, she's like there was the last shot of him screaming at the act with his lipless scream, and she was like, it's on the screen for too long. And then we shaved 4 frames, and she was like, it's on the screen for too long. And we shaved 4 more frames, and she was like, okay. Like, it was just like she bent over backwards for us, and it was effort on both sides. And I knew we were making a horror movie on broadcast television, so I knew that if I didn't work with Joanna, that we weren't going to get away with any of it. So I made her part of the show and part of the solution. And she really bent over backwards for us. It's the best relationship I've ever had with a Standards and Practices executive. We are an X. Like some of the horror that we showed, you would not be able to show in a movie theater. Like we are an X rating with some of the gore. And Joanna let us get away with it. So God bless Joanna Jameson.
Cut it!
There were 2 different makeups for Chilton. There was in episode 12, there was the burn makeup, and then in the finale, there was the grafting makeup on top of the burn makeup, because he had started to receive grafts of human tissue by that point.
In terms of makeup, yeah, you basically get there and try to shave as much as you can so they can plaster you with stuff. And then Francois, our prosthetics designer, would, I'd sort of go into the trailer, and he and his assistants would begin to slowly paste things on me. I'd sit there basically butt naked in a towel or a robe, kind of freezing my ass off, awaiting for the glue to dry and bits and pieces to come on, and you start very slowly with the face.
It was a lot of long hours for Raoul. He had to put on burn suits because it was a full body burn.
Which is a kind of awful wetsuit that takes on the temperature of whatever room you're in. So if it was cold, I was instantly freezing. If it was hot, I was instantly boiling. You couldn't be in it for longer than like an hour and a half.
Dr. Lou, you kindly broke down and came to visit.
And that took about 7 hours the first time we did it.
And as difficult as that was, the highlights of the gag reel are Raoul behaving like Fire Marshal Bill.
I'm sorry, what?
To the delight of the entire crew and the consternation of the actors who were trying to keep a straight face while they were in the scene with him.
And then, you know, getting it off took about an hour. But I would still find for a week after I had been in that stuff, it's just little crusty things stuck to me, and every little hair on your body that, that had been glued into place. You feel like you've been through something. I mean, I wasn't set on fire, but you just feel like, yeah, that just happened. I'm gonna need a weekend to recover.